Divine today, page 700. Page 700, these are the three fundamental ways of seeing. So, shall we start? Archana, can you start today?
Rangada, we have read it. You have to
Okay,
redo
okay. So, I'll go through each sentence.
Yeah, that's right.
These are the three fundamental ways of seeing, each with its mental attitude towards life that can be adopted with regard to our existence. The rest are usually midway stations or else variations or composites which attempt to adapt themselves more freely to the complexity of the problem. So, three basic things, just like, he has said also about the the human characteristics. The human characteristics can be infinite, okay? But if you boil them down and see them as variations, you come back only to four basic principles. Either you are inclined towards knowledge, then you can be considered a Brahmin. Either you are considered, go towards bravery and protection and administration, then you are a Kshatriya. Or you are interested in enjoyment and creation and wealth, okay? Then you become a Vaishya. Or you are interested in humility, service to others, okay? Then you are a Shudra. So these are the definitions. Exactly the same way, so it is saying there are three ways of looking at the physical world. There are 100,000 ways. But if you boil them down to their essential characteristics, there are three. Okay, that's what he's saying. And what those three are, we have seen, but I will repeat. One, the physical world is the only reality and there is nothing else. No God, nothing. No subtle world, nothing. The second is that the God is the only reality and the physical world is unreal. Okay? And the third is both are real. There is God, there are all the worlds that exist, and there is the physical world. Everything is real. There are the only three possibilities. Of course, the combination permutations in the previous paras he has discussed, and we have also seen there's so many different varieties. You can think of the physical world as half real, okay? Or you can think of it only as there's no gradation, there are these things. Or you may think that God is there and the physical world is not there. But what is the aim? The aim is perfection or stopping at liberation, or like Sri Aurobindo says, you go to the extreme limit of even perfecting the physical world. So there's so many variations, but there are basic three. One, matter is only reality. Two, God is only reality. Three, both God and the world are real. So that's the basic three ways. These are the three fundamental ways of seeing, each with its mental attitude towards life that can be adopted with regard to our existence. The rest are usually midway stations or else variations or composites. Variation means different ways of looking, and composites means you take certain elements from here and certain elements from there. Okay, it's a composite. Not only one but several composites which attempt to adapt themselves to more freely to the complexity of the problem. The problem is very complex. What is reality, if you see, then becomes very complex. For practically, it is impossible for man, taken as a race, whatever a few individuals may succeed in doing, to guide his life permanently or wholly by the leading motive of any of these three attitudes. Uniquely, I will wait 2 minutes, there are a lot of disturbance in the road. Yeah, so practically Swami is saying it is impossible for man taken as a race. Well, race, whole mankind, can they have ideas which are absolutely clear? Whatever a few individuals may succeed in doing, individual is notwithstanding, the race, he is saying, it is impossible for them to guide his life permanently or wholly by the leading motive of any of these three attitudes. You can't It's not possible for entire mankind to follow any of these three aims of life exclusively. That's what I'm saying. Individuals, yes, but not the race. Then he's saying a confused amalgam of two or more of them, a conflict or division of his life motives between them, or some attempt at synthesis is his way of dealing with the various impulses of his complex being and the intuitions of his mind to which they appeal for their sanction. So, now the problem is, why is it impossible? Because man has in him a mind, a vital, and a body. And all these three are in conflict with each other. So will the man follow his mind, or will he follow his vital, or will he follow his body? If he follows his body, he is a materialist. If he follows his mind or the spiritual element in him, he will go towards God. And if he is going towards the vital enjoyment of life, okay? So different things are there, all in conflict. Therefore, mostly all human beings make a composite. They take several elements from here and several elements from there and make an ideal for themselves. Okay? That's what he's saying. A confused amalgam of two or more of them. A conflict or division of his life motives between them, or some attempt at synthesis is his way of dealing with the various impulses of his complex being. His complex being is, as I said, mind, life, body, but also the ego and also the inner being, inner mind, inner vital, inner being, and the, or you put it in a philosophical manner, subconscious, inconscious, intraconscious, superconscious, and circumconscious. He is all this. So naturally he is confused. And he tries to make a combination of these or takes only two of them elements. Almost all men normally devote a major part of their energy to the life on earth. 90% of mankind thinks that the physical world is real. Whatever he may derive or whatever conclusion he may come to, but for most human beings, the physical world is very, very real. Okay? So, almost all men normally devote a major part of their energy to the life on earth, to the terrestrial needs, interests, desires, ideals of the individual and the race. So mostly people do this. It could not be otherwise. For the care of the body, the sufficient development and satisfaction of the vital and the mental being of man, the pursuit of his high individual and large collective ideals, which start from the idea of an attainable human perfection or nearer approach to perfection through his normal development, are imposed upon us by the very character of our terrestrial being. The sentence is a very big one. I'll complete the sentence and come back to each phrase. They are part of its law, its natural impulse and rule, its condition of growth, and without these things, man could not attain to his full manhood. I'll go back because each phrase we have to look at carefully. Simply saying it could not be otherwise because we have all the three. We have the mind, we have the vital, and we have the body. And they are all not at all in harmony with each other. So each man chooses his or combines. So this is what simply saying. It cannot be anything else. It could not be otherwise. For he is explaining now. For the care of the body, the sufficient development and satisfaction of the vital, and the mental being of man. We have just discussed this in detail. Each one is wanting something else. The pursuit of high individual and large collective ideals, which start from the idea of an attainable human perfection or nearer approach to perfection through his normal development. Now, simply saying that the idea of human perfection is inbuilt in man. So that's an interesting statement, and we'll have a look at that. The animal has absolutely no inbuilt sense of perfection. He just lives moment to moment, okay, and takes life as it comes to him. But man The idea of perfection is there very, very, even if you are a materialist, okay, you are trying to improve the quality of your life. You are trying to eliminate disease through research in medicine. You are trying to stop the floods by building dams. Okay? You are trying to go faster from one place to another with cars. You are trying to conquer the distance by telephones. So is this not progress? Inbuilt progress. So obviously, if you take this inbuilt idea of progress to its extreme limit, you have to go to the divine. And your imperfection of the bodily life will be cancelled. So this belief is there in man. Okay? Starting from the lowest physical progress to spiritual progress. It is there in man. So that's what I'm saying. Attainable human perfection. Or, yes, yes.
Dada, just one question. This inbuilt quality, can we also take this morality and ethics as also inbuilt quality what Arjuna was having?
So your question, I don't know what you're saying exactly, but morality also is an inbuilt sense of progress, isn't it? I can become a better human being. I can stop doing things which are not moral. So, can you? How did you bring in Arjuna? I didn't understand.
Because Arjuna was having, that is in the essence on the Gita, the human disciple in that chapter. Arjuna was in that critical situation. He wants to follow the dharma of his activities according to his nature, and Krishna is advising him to that what is there in the karma sannyasa yoga. That is why he is questioning, and that is why he is questioning that you are putting me in a mingled situation. What I have to do, whether this one or that one, in this way. So that is why I am asking.
I was speaking about the progress. Okay? So in that progress, he is saying that he has no concept of a spiritual progress. Sri Krishna has to give him the concept that you can go to another level of consciousness. So progress is there at the physical world, progress is in the moral world, and progress is there also at the spiritual level. In Arjuna's case, if that is your question, I don't know what you're saying, but if that is your question, he is thinking only of a moral progress. He is not thinking of spiritual progress at all. Sri Krishna has to make him aware that there can be a spiritual progress also. Okay? I was speaking only of progress. Whether your question was related to progress or not, I don't know. Okay.
Okay. That is the inbuilt sense in the human being. We have read that inbuilt sense that towards the progress. That is, I thought that also whether human being also wants to progress in this way, that I should be very much moral, I should be very much ethical. In this way, he wants to like that. That I just perceive.
That's what I told you. That progress is a common thing. There can be a physical progress. There may not be any spiritual progress at all. Someone who is doing physical progress, building a bridge or putting a dam, he may not be moral at all. So there are grades of perfection. But the perfection is inbuilt in man. That's what he's saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This example is in the I understood that something is in physical, something is in vital, something is in mental. Every grades of consciousness are there, and
so what is okay? Don't get lost in words. So what is the common thing to all? Progress. That's what Swami is saying. Okay. Even an ordinary man has the idea of progress. Suppose he is getting a very weak salary, he wants progress, he wants a better salary. Even that is progress. So when Swami is making a statement, I'm explaining to you its implications. Okay, he's saying, we start from the idea of an attainable human perfection or nearer to perfection through his normal development. So the idea of progress is there at all the levels. So that's why it can also be translated into a spiritual level. Okay. Now we come back to our text. Okay. So, are imposed upon us by the very character of our celestial being. Because we have, even in us, We have a physical part, we have a vital part, and we have also a mental part. So there can be a progress even within ourselves. Okay, very clear. Okay. They are part of its law, its natural impulse and rule, its conditions of growth. And without these things, man could not attain to his full manhood. So he has to become a full man. Okay. And when he does that, all the potentialities that are there in him, he has to realize them, he has to actualize them. That's the idea of the Srimad. Okay, so now I go to the next sentence. Any view of our being which neglects, unduly belittles, or intolerantly condemns them is therefore by that very fact, whatever its other truth or merit or utility, or whatever its suitability to individuals of a certain temperament or in a certain stage of spiritual evolution, unfit to be the general and complete rule of human living. Huge sentence, and we have to go phrase by phrase. Swami is saying that any view, any philosophy, any opinion, anything that says does not take all these three into account, okay, is not fit for the philosophy of a perfection. That's what he's saying. So anyone who thinks of absolute manhood, perfect manhood, has to take account of all the three. He has to take account of God, he has to take account of the physical world, and he has to also take account of the what's the third one? Okay, both are real. Okay, so you have to take and complete the whole thing. You have to believe in all. Otherwise, sense of perfection is not possible. Okay, you may progress tremendously physically, but you are morally imperfect. Perfection is not possible. You may be morally very perfect and physically also, but you may not have spiritual. That also is not perfect. Perfection means all the three must be there. Okay? That's what he said. So any view of our being which neglects, unduly belittles. Here also, there are grades, you can see. First of all, neglect. The physical man, okay, neglects the moral sometimes, and even neglects the absolutely the spiritual, or unduly belittles. They say, no, spirituality has no value at all. You have to live physically in the physical world as happily as you can. Okay? There are various philosophies which do that. There is one, it's called the Bentham's law. Okay, the name of the Roger Bentham. What's the philosophy? Utilitarianism. Okay? What is good is what is useful to man. So these ideas are all, they are all very, or hedonism. This is also an idea. That is idea, perfection of man is when he is very, very happy. So all these philosophies are relative and they will be discarded in time. That's what Shakespeare is. Particularly, I discussed utilitarianism and hedonism. Okay? These two are only limiting themselves to one aspect of life. So, whatever its suitability for individuals. Okay? Certain individuals may, for instance, take the case of Raman Maharshi, a magnificently spiritual person. But he was not thinking of the transformation of the physical world.
Rangada, one question here. Rangada,
Yeah, tell
please.
me. Tell me.
In this sentence, no, in this part phrase, any view of a being which neglects, unduly belittles, or intolerantly condemns them.
Yes.
Them here are the things which is mentioned in the previous line, previous sentence, meaning the attainable, his idea of perfection and nearer approach to perfection through his normal development. This what is there in man is no. If he neglects that, his impulse to progression through normal and through his vital being, through his mental being, that whole sentence, Rangada, that's a long sentence, right from it could not. So them refers to that previous sentence?
Yes, I would think so. Yeah.
That is that much.
That's right. Exactly, it refers to that. He's saying, first of all, he says that the idea of progress is there. But if you limit your progress only to one field, then it is not perfect perfection. That's basically what he's saying. Okay? But it may suit some people. And I give you the extreme example of Raman Maharshi, magnificent spiritual personality, but the idea of transformation was not there. Okay? So you have not gone far enough. That's what Swami is saying. You have to go very far enough. Even the imperfections of the physical world have to be made perfect. If you are a spiritual person and you accept the imperfections of the physical world, then it's not perfect perfection. Your philosophy cannot qualify to be a perfect perfection. That's what he's saying. Okay? So, of course, they're very, very clear. A scientist who is trying to make improvements in the physical world, his idea of perfection is limited to the physical. The idea of morality limited only to moral behavior. Very, very obviously, very, very partial and not at all complete perfection. Okay? Certain stages of spiritual level unfit by the general and complete rule of human living. Now, Swami is saying, nature takes good care that the race shall not neglect the aims which are a necessary part of our evolution. Nature knows very well that I have to go from the inconscient to the life, then I have to go to mind, and from there I have to go to the supermind. Okay? So it knows, nature is doing that in a very, very hidden manner. Nature herself is not very clear, but the involvement of the Satchidananda in matter itself is pushing it towards perfection. Nature takes good care that the race shall not neglect these aims which are a necessary part of our evolution. Take the case of the Vedic period. In the Vedic period, the idea of spirituality was absolutely perfect, that the physical world also is real. But there was no physical progress. So nature took care that your Vedic culture is not good enough. So I will suppress it for the time being until the physical world is more perfect. Then we will go back to the Vedic concept. Okay, so that's what. Anything that is not full perfection, nature will take care and reject it. That's what Swami is saying. Okay. Nature takes good care that the race shall not neglect these aims, which are a necessary part of the evolution. For they fall within the method and stages of a divine plan in us, and a vigilance of our first steps, and for the maintenance of their mental and material ground is a preoccupation which we cannot allow to go into the background, since these things belong to the foundation and body of our structure. Clear what he's saying? Swami is saying the evolution has to end in absolute perfection of the physical world as well as the perfection of the spiritual world. That has to be done. Otherwise, you cannot, your philosophy cannot qualify for perfect perfection. That's what he's saying basically. Okay. So in other words, his idea is absolutely mind-boggling. It is something absolutely new. He's saying perfection is there everywhere. It has to become perfect. We can now go to the next para. But also she has implanted in us a sense. Okay. So
Rangada,
yes.
in this paragraph, basically he is trying to put this, that the mental and material ground, the maintenance and their perfection is absolutely necessary because that is the foundation and body of a structure.
Yes.
I think in the next paragraph he goes on to talk about the next, it goes beyond.
Yes, that's right. He will say that the nature has inbuilt in man the idea of progress. But at the same time, nature has inbuilt in man the idea of imperfection. You are able to see imperfection, and there you apply the principle of progress and try to remove those imperfections. That's exactly what it is. So, Archana, you can read the next one. But also,
yes, I'll read.
Yeah, go ahead.
But also she has implanted in us a sense that there is something in our composition which goes beyond this first terrestrial nature of humanity. For this reason, the race cannot accept or follow for a very long time any view of being which ignores the higher and subtler sense and labors to confine us entirely to a purely terrestrial way of living. The intuition of a beyond, the idea and feeling of a soul and spirit in us, which is other than the mind, life, and body, or is greater, not limited by the formula, returns upon us and ends by resuming possession. The ordinary man satisfies this sense easily enough by devoting to it his exceptional moments or the latter part of his life, when age shall have blunted the zest of his earthly nature, or by recognizing it as something behind or above his normal action, to which he can more or less imperfectly direct his natural being. The exceptional man turns to the supraterrestrial as the one aim and law of living and diminishes or mortifies as much as possible his earthly parts in the hope of developing his celestial nature. There have been epochs in which the supraterrestrial view has gained a very powerful hold, and there has been a vacillation between an imperfect human being which cannot take its large natural expansion and a sick ascetic longing for the celestial life, which also does not acquire in more than a few its best pure and happy movement. This is a sign of the creation of some false war in the being by the setting up of a standard or a device that ignores the law of evolutionary capacity, or an overstress that misses the reconciling equation which must exist somewhere in a divine dispensation of a sorry in a divine dispensation of our nature.
Yeah. So what Shendra is saying is the four aims of life, first aim, second aim, third aim, do not qualify for perfection. And my idea is that I want perfection at all the levels. So that is the only one which will be pursued. That's basically what he's saying. Okay, so even when a very high spiritual thing is there, but it does not take care of the lower levels, then it is not compatible with my way of thinking. That's what he's saying. He's not saying that it is he is not criticizing it, but he's saying it stops short of the perfection. Now we'll read each sentence and see what he's saying. Very interesting what he's saying. Okay. Even the Indian ideas of he finds a fault with this, where the fourfold, the brahmacharyam, then the grihastham, then the vanaprastha, and finally the moksha and the vanaprastha. So he finds a fault with that also. Okay, we'll see that. But also, I'm reading each sentence. Okay? But also, she, who is the she? Nature. But also, nature has implanted in us a sense that there is something in our composition which goes beyond this first terrestrial nature of humanity. What does he mean? He means that there is a spiritual element in you. You not only have a body, you have a vital and a mind, but also you have a soul. Okay, that is there in nature has built it into man. Okay, and you may not be conscious of it, but ultimately one day you will be conscious of it. For this reason, the race cannot accept or follow for a very long time any view of being which ignores this higher and subtler sense and labors to confine us entirely to a purely terrestrial way of living. In other words, the sentence is long when with four lines, 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically what he's saying is, what is this terrestrial, purely terrestrial way of living? The materialism, or even if morality is there, it is a terrestrial way of living. Okay, so that is not, it will not allow, nature will not allow you, man, to remain content with these two things. That's why materialism also is breaking down. Okay? The intuition of a beyond, something beyond the physical world, the idea and feeling of a soul and spirit in us, which is other than the mind, life, and body, or is greater, not limited by the formula, returns upon us and ends by resuming possession. If you remember the very first paragraph of Life Divine, okay, he says, after the idea of the perfection man, God, life, freedom, okay, the four lines, what is it? Ultimately, the idea will always come. However you banish it, it will keep coming back. He's saying the same thing here in different language. Okay, the God, life, freedom, immortality. There are 4 words he uses in the first paragraph of Life Divine. Okay, and as much as you banish them, they will keep coming back. Okay, that's what he's saying. In other words, here, the intuition of a beyond. And what is that beyond? Exactly these 4 lines: God, life, freedom, immortality. Okay? The idea and feeling of a soul and spirit in us, which is other than the mind, life, body, or is greater, not limited by their formula, returns upon us and ends by resuming possession. So, always you vanish as much as you want this idea of soul and spirit, it will keep coming back. The ordinary man satisfies this sense easily enough by devoting to it his exceptional moments or the latter part of his life when age shall have blunted the zest of his earthly nature, or by recognizing it as something behind or above his normal action to which he can more or less imperfectly direct his natural being. The sentence goes on and on, so we'll go to each phrase. Okay. The ordinary man satisfies the sense easily enough by devoting it to his exceptional moments. Okay. So what do we mean by that? Exceptional moments for Hindus and Muslims, it is Friday. Friday is reserved for your thoughts of God. And for the Christians, it is Sunday. You go to church and satisfy them. Exceptional moments, okay, they are limiting it to a particular part. Or in a bigger way, for the latter part of his life, when age shall have blunted the zest of his earthly nature. What's he saying? He's saying that in India, you have the 4, what is it, Varnashram, no? The Brahmacharyam, Grihastham, then what's in
Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha. Sannyas and Vanaprastha.
Before Vanaprastha, there's something else.
Sannyas ashram.
Sannyasa. Vanaprastha, then Sannyasa. So Srivanga finds fault with Sannyasa because you are giving up the physical world. Okay. So you are, after you have enjoyed your life, okay, you are going to and rejecting the physical world. That's also not good enough. That was the defect in the Indian thinking. You see that very clearly in foundations of Indian culture. Okay, so he's saying the ordinary man satisfies his sense easily enough by devoting to it his exceptional moments. Exceptional moments for Hindus and Christians, Muslims, Fridays. Okay, go to temple and go to mosque. Okay, and the Christians on Sunday. Okay, you reserve Sunday for them. Think of God. Okay, nothing else. But and in the other one, even if you're thinking all the time of it, the latter part of your life, when you have finished living your normal life and you're above 60, in those days it is considered 60. Okay, by 60 you have had all the 3 phases of life: Brahmacharyam, Grihastha, and the Vanaprastha. You go to the Vanas after you've done all this, and then you sannyasa. You give up the physical. The ordinary man satisfies himself easily enough by devoting to the exceptional moments or the latter part of his life when age has blunted the zest of his earthly nature. Okay, then your senses are now all gone old, and you have lost the interest in enjoyment. Okay, that's what he means by blunted the zest of his earthly nature. Okay, or by recognizing it as something behind or above his normal action, to which he can more or less imperfectly direct his natural being. Okay. The exceptional man turns to the supra-terrestrial as the one aim and law of living, and diminishes or mortifies as much as possible his earthly parts in the hope of developing his celestial nature. So here also is that one sentence he is including everything. The Christian concept, the Hindu concept, all the other concepts he is putting into one. The last part we will see now what he is saying. The exceptional man. Who is the exceptional man? The yogi who pursues his spiritual life with one pointed attention. Okay? The exceptional man turns to the supra-terrestrial or think of it as God, as one aim and the law of living, and diminishes or mortifies as much as possible the earthly parts. Which are the earthly parts? His body, mind, life. It diminishes them, does not give any importance to them, or mortifies as much as possible these earthly parts. This is the not sleeping, punishing yourself, okay, not eating, all the other mortifications. Going on a fast or beating yourself, or in the Christian world, they actually they beat themselves with whips and all this type of thing. In Christianity, it's very common. You even crucify yourself to go closer to the Christ. Okay? So all these things are there. In Islam also, I've forgotten the exact, but at one time, they take a whip and go on whipping their back. They're trying to identify themselves with that martyr. Okay? So all this is mortification. It's everything. Either you diminish or you mortify as much as possible the earthly parts. Earthly parts, your body and your vital, in the hope of developing a celestial nature. There have been epochs in which the supra-terrestrial view has gained a very powerful hold, and there has been a vacillation between an imperfect human living, which cannot take its large natural expansion, and a sick ascetic longing for the celestial life, okay? Which also does not acquire in more than a few its best, pure and happy mood. Now, again, long sentences, many phrases in between which you have to see. There have been epochs in which the supra-terrestrial view has gained a very powerful hold. Very clearly, he is talking of the Vedic period in India. And in the other periods, there have been cultures like that. The Egyptian culture, okay, and the Sumerian culture. Okay. We also know of the Aztec culture. Okay. And the in South America also there has been, so there has been, supra-terrestrial view was the most important. And there has been a vacillation, a hesitation, okay, between an imperfect human living, which cannot take its large natural expansion, and a sick ascetic longing, okay, for the celestial life. So there is a hesitation, a vacillation means a pendulum movement up and down. Either this or that, either this or that. That's what he's talking about. Between the imperfect human living, which cannot take its large natural expansion, and a sick ascetic longing. So give up the physical world. Okay, that's the other one. Sick ascetic longing for the celestial life, which also does not acquire in more than a few its best, pure and happy mood. In other words, he's saying 90% of humanity, even if their idealism is there, they hesitate between the higher and the lower, except in very few who become absolutely perfect in even their asceticism. Probably the best example for this is Raman Maharshi. He will be absolutely pure and he gave up the physical world. So in very few, this perfection is possible in the belief that they have. Okay, so and happy movement. This is a sign of the creation of some false war in the being by the setting up of a standard or a device that ignores the law of evolutionary capacity, or an overstress that misses the reconciling equation which must exist somewhere in a divine dispensation of our nature. What Sridhar is saying is that this vacillation between the higher and the lower, you are not recognizing that there is an evolution, and that evolution will slowly go step by step towards the higher. Okay? But this is a sign of a false war. There is no war between spirit and matter. In Europe, still the war is very highly rampant even now between spirit and matter, God and science. They still have this problem. In India, there never was a problem. You know that it is there, but sometimes you choose God and you give up the physical world, or you choose the physical world and give up God. If you remember, in the synthesis, he has said this earlier also. The earthly life, if you want to live an earthly life, you have to give up God. And if you want to have God, you have to give up the earthly life. And opposite. If you want earthly life, you have to give up God. That he has said very clearly in the synthesis. But this is a false war. It need not be there. You can combine both perfectly. And how to do that? Nature is taking care of that through evolution. It will happen one day. Okay, that's what it's saying. Clear? So, this is a sign of the creation of some false war. There is no war at all between spirit and matter. Okay? In the being, by the setting up of a standard or a device that ignores the law of evolutionary capacity or an overstress that misses the reconciling equation. Overstress can be on God or it can be on matter. And that both of them will miss the reconciling equation. Which is the reconciling equation? The third theory, God also is real and the physical world also is real. That's a reconciling equation, which must exist somewhere in a divine dispensation of our nature. The divine is there in our nature, and now or at some time in the future, this idea will come that the physical world also can become perfect. That's what he's saying. So it's already 8:42. So we have done 2 paras, but basically the net summation of what he's saying, the summary of what he's saying is, the burden of what he's saying is that there can be a lot of hesitation between God and the physical world, but one day you will realize, man will realize that there's an evolution which is going towards even the perfection of the lower. That's basically what he's saying. Okay? I see that Jasmine has come back. Jasmine, good morning.
Bonjour.
You have come back from your trip?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome back to the sessions.
Thank you.
Okay. So,
Dada,
yes.
outside this chapter, can I ask a question?
Pardon? I didn't follow.
Outside this chapter, I am having a doubt from Essage on Gita. So
Okay.
can I ask that question, Dada? One question?
Yes. I got 2 minutes, you can ask, because the student will be coming, but she has not yet come. You can ask.
Okay, Dada.
Go
Okay.
ahead. Ask.
Yes, Dada, I am asking. In that chapter, what I was just telling earlier, that human disciple chapter, that where he is asking, Arjuna is asking, he asks, what is the end of the soul which attempts and fails, whether it does not lose both this life of human activity and thought and emotion which it has left behind, and the Brahmi consciousness to which it aspires, and falling from both perish like a dissolving cloud? Arjuna is asking Sri Krishna, again I am repeating this question, Dada, that and he asks, what is the end of the soul which attempts and fails, whether it does not lose both this life of human activity and thought and emotion which it has left behind, and the Brahmi consciousness to which it aspires, and falling from both perish like a dissolving cloud?
I'm sorry, but I'm not able to understand your question.
Actually, what Arjun is having doubt. That is my question is whether somebody is aspiring and living this mind, life and body thoughts, emotions and this physical, and living that and aspiring for that soul state, and whether if somebody if is not succeeding in that state, Arjun is asking if somebody is not succeeding in that aspiration, then whether he will lose the both. He will neither in the normal human state nor in the soul state.
Now I understood. There's a section in the Gita where he says that. He says that when a yogi cannot fulfill his aim, what happens to him? Is he condemned forever as a failure? That's the question you are asking. But Sri Krishna himself answers that. He says that no effort is ever lost. He says that very clearly. Nobody is lost forever. I think that's what you are asking. Okay? But the Sri Krishna answers that question very clearly. He says that no effort, no spiritual effort is ever lost forever. So even one who fails in this life, he will pick up again in the next life.
Okay.
If I have understood your
Another-
question correctly.
Yes, I understood, Dada. What you have told that no aspiration will be failed. Every spiritual aspiration will be fulfilled at the end. This is the
Yes.
answer. What Sri Krishna would have been explained in the chapters, next chapter. But another thing, Dada, if somebody is experiencing the soul state, will he forever will he remain like that, or again he will fall down to the normal experiences of the human being?
Okay, I have understood your question. In the beginning, it is always an up and down. The first time that you experience your psychic being or the self, it can never be complete. The first time it can never be complete because you are imperfect. You are starting from imperfection and your imperfection pulls you down. But once you have seen the self or the psychic being, the effort will continue until the experience becomes permanent. That's the answer. So in the beginning, it can
Okay.
never be perfect.
Thank
You will fall
Ex-
down. That is sure to happen.
Exactly. I was just by listening your previous talk from the YouTube, I also perceived in this way. But just I want to be confirmed through you. I have already. I am always listening or YouTube videos, your Dada. Thank you very much. For you only,
Because
I'm getting some clarity. Okay, thank you, Dada.
there is a concept in our Indian system that a Bhrashta yogi. In other words, he is leading a spiritual life, but he gets tempted by the vital and he falls and he goes back to a normal life. But that's not the end. The next life he will again pick up. Okay. Or it may take a couple of lives, but he will again start the journey on the road. Nothing is ever lost for him.
Rangada, this is very clearly discussed in self-consecration chapter of Synthesis of Yoga.
Yes,
What we are
exactly.
discussing, where that nothing done is ever lost.
Exactly.
To find God for the yogic sadhana, anything done is never lost.
Exactly.
Self-consecration, that chapter, second portion of Synthesis Yoga, second chapter. It is
Yes.
very in details explained in that.
That's right.
Okay, Rangada. I think it's
Every-
time, almost 8:50.
Every progress that you make is
Ah.
kept for you. It is not taken away. It's not like the snakes and ladders. Okay, the snakes and ladders, you go from 0 to 100, and when you go to 99, that snake will bring you down again to the lower level. Yoga is not like that. Okay, you will pick up. So temporarily you may fall, but ultimately you will reach. That's the thing. Okay, so we close now. We have already about 10 minutes beyond our time we have gone. So I'm closing. Okay.
That is what I was saying. Thank you, Rangada.
Have a nice day.